Welcome to another Taylor Newsbreak. I'm Carl Zymak. Today's special guest is Ron Hindrich, President and CEO of the Southern Wayne County Chamber of Commerce. Our show is going to focus on the current nationwide labor shortages and how they're affecting Taylor and the surrounding downriver region. Ron, welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure seeing you.
Yeah, you're a great friend, and doing an introduction to me, the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber is such a long name, so it's like such a mouthful. But hey, greatly appreciate your partnership, Carl, and it's just it's an honor to be here today.
Well,
so thank
fantastic,
you.
And I know you've been a busy man, and we're happy to get you over here to Studio One here in the new Media Center. Before we get to today's topic, I wanted to first talk about you a little bit. Tell us about your background and what led you to your current post here.
Sure, and I do have to comment real quick that the Taylor Media Center is just absolutely beautiful. So thanks, Carl, again for having me here, and I really enjoyed the tour and excited to be here. So a little bit about me. Again, as you mentioned, I'm the President and CEO of the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber, which is a big responsibility. As I think a lot of people say, they take their responsibility and their job seriously, but not themselves. So that's kind of I guess that's the way we take it. But we serve 21 communities, 21 municipalities, basically all of downriver and a few communities in western Wayne County. So we're pretty busy, very diverse membership of large corporations, small businesses, nonprofits, and as you know, municipalities like the city of Taylor, elected officials, and many others. So myself, I have a little bit of a storied past. I actually began my career working in politics a little bit. Interned for Congressman John Dingell, who was a phenomenal leader, as you know, in our region. Worked with the city of Dearborn as an intern in their Department of Public Information. And then served under Dearborn Heights Mayor Dan Palecko for a few years. Worked at the Henry Ford Museum in their special events department. So a lot of, very, very diverse backgrounds.
You have some diversity going there.
Yep, and I've been downriver for with the Southern Wayne County Regional Chamber for just over 4 years now.
What I know I didn't have this on the prep for you, but when you came to the chamber downriver, what kind of focus did you look at? What were your kind of tick points right out of the chute?
Yeah, so the tick points really are providing value to our membership. So I didn't mention that I served as the events and media relations director with the Dearborn Area Chamber for 4 years prior to coming downriver.
Which would prep you really well for the new job.
Yeah. Exactly. So coming downriver, I think there was a real opportunity to expand the resources and benefits that we offer to the business community and the workforce downriver. So we came in, right off the bat with our sleeves rolled up, got the team together, and really, started meeting with our elected officials and our board members and our community and business leaders, and finding out what the need was in the community and bringing people together. That's what we're all about, is unifying our region and bringing people together to have a positive, lasting impact for downriver for our future generations. So that was really the tick point, was bringing people together and finding out what was the need and finding solutions, positive solutions.
Well, speaking of a good segue, here it goes.
Yeah, here we go.
You've been extremely active in local business activity during and coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now that we're heading into what should be better days, hopefully, we have been faced across the board with worker shortages. What do you attribute those shortages to?
Yeah, great question, Carl. And as you know, let me start pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, we were facing the skills gap crisis, which was a very serious concern, obviously, for employers and the workforce alike. Whereas we had a lot of job openings with specific needs and specific skill requirements, and we didn't have the necessary skills and amongst the talent to fill those job requirements. So that was a serious issue. And then here comes the COVID-19 pandemic, which, as you can imagine, made that situation a lot worse. But also, now that we're exiting out of the COVID pandemic, fingers crossed, and we all got to remain responsible and safe, right? But now that we're exiting out of the pandemic into better days, we're now seeing the worker shortage crisis, which is, as I mentioned, a serious crisis for for not only downriver and the state of Michigan, but the entire nation. So that has made the skills gap crisis even worse, and it's really a serious concern as businesses are looking to begin fully operating again and providing the critical services that our community has come to know them to provide. They're not able to because we don't have the workers and the talent necessary currently in our current situation to provide those critical services to our community.
It's really ironic to see some of this happening because, you're not used to going to the McDonald's and going through the drive-through and seeing, hey, we don't have enough people here, so it's closed today. And you're also, on the other side, you're also not used to seeing somebody like GM or Ford or somebody go out there and throw out really good, high-paying jobs in factories and not getting the type of feedback that they're used to.
Right, and you mentioned McDonald's and places like White Castle and Burger King and others. If you go there, a lot of them are offering now $13 an hour, $14, $15, $16 an hour, plus sign-on bonuses, plus benefits, plus college tuition. Employers are doing everything that they can to incentivize our workforce and our amazing talent to return back to the workplace. Because as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, it's all about unifying our region and being able to provide or have a positive and lasting impact on our region. And that's why we need our workers to return back to the workforce, because their services are critically needed to enhance the downriver community, the state of Michigan, and in our entire American society.
Well, when you discuss meaningful legislative solutions, you've really attacked this with laser focus. To issues like these shortages in workers. Let's take some of your suggestions one by one, and you can flush them out for me, because even I'd like to hear your explanations. In the federal unemployment insurance benefits by mid-July.
So let's start off with a couple of numbers.
Okay.
Number one, I want to mention this. The United States Chamber of Commerce just recently completed a survey amongst individuals who were unfortunately laid off or lost their job during the pandemic. Amongst the respondents, we found that 49%, that's almost half of all people who lost their jobs during the pandemic, are not actively seeking employment. That's a huge concern. The other part of that is 61%, that's significantly over half, are not enthusiastic about finding employment. And 30% do not plan to return to the workplace this year, 2021, and another 13% don't plan to return to the workplace ever. Those are, you can imagine what kind of impact that has on our regional workforce, our business community in the state of Michigan and throughout the entire nation. It's very serious. So there's specific reasons why that's happening, we believe, and we believe that it's the responsibility of the Chamber of Commerce, our elected officials, our business leaders, and our workforce leaders to come together and find reasonable, common sense-based solutions to those problems. So number one, you mentioned the federal unemployment supplement that's currently taking place. It's a $300 supplement. 26 states currently have ended their agreement with the Department of Labor in regards to providing that additional $300 unemployment supplement. Why? Well, the reason is because there's a significant amount of job openings that outnumbers the current number of unemployed workers. So we, again, as I mentioned earlier, we need people to come back, share their talents with the community, and help us to unite and come back to the workplace and enhance our region. So we're not calling on just ending the $300 weekly unemployment supplement. That money, that federal funds, relief funding, needs to be reinvested to help provide solutions to overcome employment barriers. For example, we need to invest into return to work bonuses.
That's where I was going, so go ahead.
People should be rewarded for serving their community and sharing their talents, and they should be incentivized to return back to the workplace as well, as opposed to providing a reason for people to not share their talent with the community. We need to incentivize people to come back to work and provide those, I think, very important return to work bonuses.
It's almost a step-by-step process.
It is.
Yeah, without a doubt. What about work search requirements.
That's a good one too. Work search requirements and also registering with your local Michigan Works office. Both very important topics. So as you know, the governor, I believe, at the end of May, reinstated the work search requirements, which it was very necessary for her, I believe, and her administration to take the action early on in the administration to not require work search requirements because people were losing their jobs, and it was a completely different situation with the stay-at-home order. Now that we're beyond that moment in the pandemic and businesses are opening up 100% capacity again, we're in a great need, as I mentioned, for people to come back and share their talents and come back to work. So to incentivize people to come back to work, the work search requirement was reinstated by the governor and her administration at the end of May, and necessarily so. But we believe that they must strictly be enforced because we, again, need to encourage and provide resources for people to actively search for employment and find employment and to be involved in the local workforce. Also, I want to mention real quick the Michigan Works registration requirement. Because Michigan Works offices here in the Downriver region, we have SEMCA Michigan Works, who does a phenomenal job, and then the Southgate American Job Center at the Downriver Community Conference on Northline. That's our regional Michigan Works offices. And the resources that they provide on a daily basis to our workforce and talent who are seeking new employment or job training opportunities, the resources there are absolutely phenomenal. So we want to encourage our talent, our regional workforce to visit your Michigan Works office and talk to professionals and find out how they can take advantage of some of those resources and again, share their talent with our community.
It is amazing, Ron. You know, a lot of people, if they're not flying in those skies, a lot of people don't realize how important organizations are like SEMCOG, like DCC, and how good those people are at their jobs. Our friend Jim Perry, who's a great guy and a tremendous downriver icon almost. But those staffs really do a heck of a job.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned, and you know, Jim Perry really is a great guy. Him and his team, Lisa Wayne and all the folks over at the Downriver Community Conference and SEMCA as well do a great job. And when you mention Jim Perry, I mean, everybody takes notice because he's just a great leader in our region.
He is a good man. Let's go back to this for a second. Pro Training Fund.
Yes. So going back to SEMCA Michigan Works, in our region, they do a phenomenal job administering the Going Pro Talent Training Fund, which is a very important program. As I mentioned, pre-pandemic, we were facing the talent gap, and the Going Pro Talent Fund was absolutely critical, which unfortunately it was not funded for a little bit of time, and through some effective advocacy and working with the governor's office and the legislature, it was funded. So we're happy to see the program back. But it does provide critical, rapid job training opportunities for our workforce and our employers to make sure that our workforce are receiving that training requirements to specifically, fit the needs of our region's businesses. So those are very important. And I do want to mention that I mentioned rapid training programs. That's extremely critical as we look to overcome the worker shortage crisis because there's a lot of specific employment opportunities that are not being filled because we don't necessarily have the talent and the skills required to fill those positions. So Going Pro Talent Fund and other job training programs are helping us to kind of fill the gaps and train our talent to meet the requirements needed for those open positions.
And these are basically investments in solutions to break down the barriers.
Exactly. Employment barriers, and it's direct investment into our future generations as well.
Right. Which is all about, when you really think about this, at one point during the pandemic, we had the government had to float a lot of money out there just to keep people living and doing things from day to day. And now they're making that transition and adjustment to, instead of doing that, it's to get them back in the job market and to get them in the job market as good as possible. Right. Because you want to fit them in.
that's a good point. And a lot of these, a lot of the different benefits that were provided during the pandemic, as I mentioned, were absolutely necessary because during a stay-at-home order and other orders that were required during the pandemic, people were losing their employment. And so it was up to our elected officials and our government to ensure that they were receiving the resources necessary to survive and to live their daily lives. But now we're in a different situation we're calling on everybody to come back to work. Now's the time to roll up our sleeves, and that's really, Carl, you know this is what Downriver is all about. In a time of crisis, we come together, we help each other, we enhance our community, we roll up our sleeves, and we get the job done. And that's the situation we're facing right now, and I have full confidence in our Downriver region that we're going to get the job done.
One more talking point on this particular subject. Legislation to support local governments to support development and rehab of housing.
Yep.
Where are you going with that?
Yeah, so that's a great question too, Carl, because affordable housing is absolutely critical when it comes to overcoming employment barriers. So legislation, funding needs to be provided from our federal government, our state government, for local bodies of government that would enable them to provide affordable housing for our workforce. It's very similar to reliable transportation. One thing that the Chamber took a strong position on a few years back was a regional mass transit proposal. We need to be able to assist our workforce in overcoming those historical employment barriers like reliable transportation, affordable housing, childcare, which we can talk about in a minute, and other things like that. We have to come together as a community, provide the resources, and enable our workforce to have the opportunity to share their talent with the community.
You know, there's also evidence about shifts in the workforce's attitude towards certain jobs now. The pandemic forced people to do certain things. You know, I did this forever and I put up with certain things and it worked out for me really well, but then that job and that industry kind of went like this, and so I had to go get something else. And now that person may have gone to get something else, and now they're not looking back. What do you look for when, that's part of the problem too, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah, it is a part of the problem, and you know, I think I mentioned this earlier. In my younger days, I served in the food service industry, and it was an extremely rewarding you know, opportunity. Working in food service is challenging. It's hard work, but as I mentioned, it's extremely rewarding. And I met some of my closest friends, you know, working in the food industry, and that's one industry that has been significantly impacted, as you know, by the current crisis. Yep. So I think when it comes to kind of our mindset, we need to sit back and realize the benefits of serving in industries that, it seems like hard work, you know, and it might be more convenient to maybe do something else, but we really are in great need of everyone's talent, and in different industries that have been most impacted by the pandemic, like retail, food service, you know, healthcare, and others. Are in great need of leaders in our region, of people that are passionate about serving the community and want to roll up their sleeves and be a part of the solution. So I strongly encourage everyone to consider serving in some of those most impacted industries.
You know, when it comes to elderly people in the workforce, speaking of another vacuum that's been created, are we in a dangerous situation here with this business cycle? Because many of those elderly people, instead of shifting job plans or, you know, second or third careers, they've just quit working. And some of that is fear, of you know, medical conditions, fear of pandemic, fear of offshoot viruses. But if those people aren't likely to return, what happens, Ron? Because this is kind of a critical issue.
It's extremely critical, Carl, and you brought up some good points. You know, fear is obviously a very serious issue right now, and I understand the fear in the community. I know you do as well, because the pandemic and the coronavirus and perhaps other respiratory viruses as well is a very serious concern. I think especially for our elderly population. And I think we as a community need to come together, as I mentioned before, and provide the resources necessary to allow people to share their talent with the community. And of course, that's definitely a very significant concern that we have as well. So we're going to continue to watch that closely, and thank you for bringing up that,
it's
that
almost,
topic.
It's almost like that's another recruiting arm that you need to extend out there to bring, to literally convince that portions of that workforce come
It
in.
is. I mean, the senior citizen population, as you know, provides tremendous value and resources to our workforce community and our business community. It's as you mentioned, a very critical part of our workforce. So these are very serious concerns, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to empower our senior citizens and empower really all demographics of our population that have the resources they need to invest in to be a part of their community.
Big challenge.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, let me put you on the spot here, because I know that you and I discussed this last week. Over the past decade, there have been some severe shifts on the federal level and in the policy when it comes to immigration. Okay, a flow that creates an additional workforce, as you and I know. The borders under Presidents Bush, Obama, and now Biden were now a little bit more open, okay, than they were under President Trump. Governor Rick Snyder, a former business leader and a GOP governor here, he was at odds with President Trump's borderline policies, especially from a Michigan viewpoint. How does the chamber view this? How do you view this? That's a complicated question. I hate to put you on the spot, but I will anyways.
So I can always rely on you, Carl, to ask me the tough questions and put me on the spot. But it's a very good question because without a doubt, immigration is absolutely critical to our workforce, not only at a national level, but here locally in the state of Michigan and the downriver community. The United States of America is a nation of immigrants. We know that. And legal immigration is absolutely critical to the success of our local and nationwide economies. So without a doubt, we have to take a serious look at legal immigration reform, and I am talking about legal immigration. That's the important term here. We need to look at reforming our legal immigration process to empower our workforce and our employers. So specific examples that I can talk about when it comes to reforming our legal immigration process are expanding and extending the cap on employment visas, for example, which currently is at 140,000 per year is the cap. That should be doubled to 280,000 or more, especially during this time where we're looking to overcome the current worker shortage crisis. We need more people with excellent talent to assist our communities. When it comes to employment-based visas, you have the H-1B visa, which is specific to high-tech workforce and talent. Then you have the H-2B visa, which is extremely critical for our travel and tourism industry, our hospitality and agricultural industry, and that is our seasonal workers. As you know, that's extremely important to many of our employers in the downriver region. But in addition to that, you also have the H-2A visas, which is specific to non-seasonal employees in the agricultural industries like dairy farms and others. But we need to extend opportunities to take advantage of those visas and also extend and increase the number of visas, employment-based visas that we're issuing to people who with excellent talent that can come in and serve and assist our employers.
Where does minimum wage come into all of this? Or is it moot because wages are going up all over the place?
Yeah, they are. That's a good question. Minimum wage is obviously a very serious topic. Something that we don't take lightly, obviously, and with the business community and the workforce alike, it's something that we need to continue to discuss and find sensible solutions that work for all. Currently, right now, you are seeing that businesses are doing everything they can within their budgets and within their means to attract great talent. They're increasing wages. They're They're providing shorter wages, they're increasing vacation and paid time off, providing additional benefits, and doing a lot of other return to work bonuses, as I mentioned earlier, and a lot of other providing a lot of other resources to overcome employment barriers. But we are not, we don't need the government to step in and to start demanding that employers increase minimum wage. That's making it unrealistic for small businesses specifically. And I know we have a lot of small businesses downriver that are very concerned about the direction that regulations within the government could be going. But businesses are taking the step that's required and providing the resources that our workforce needs to return to the workplace.
In other words, let the marketplace adjust. That's the way it goes, believe me. Education plays a major factor in jobs and economic success. From the Chamber's view, do we need to rethink portions of our public educational system in America?
We absolutely do, Carl. This is a great point. This is something that I actually just recently discussed with the Michigan Department of Treasury and some of our other community partners. And that is that my generation, I guess I would say an older millennial, our generation and probably the generations after me were constantly told you have to go get the 4-year degree. You got to get the master's degree. You got to become a professional, an attorney, a doctor, or so forth. Right. And the skilled trades, for example, were completely forgotten in my generation. And now what are we seeing today? We're seeing a crisis in filling the skills trade, or skilled trades jobs in our communities. So we need to start at the middle school age students, because I believe that middle school is kind of that prime age where they start thinking about what do I want to do with my life, what kind of career do I want to go into, and we need to start talking about jobs that really provide value to the workforce and our community, and that's a big part of that is the skilled trades. And the fact is that you can go into the skilled trades and you can make a lot of money, you can get great benefits, you can have a meaningful career that really provides value to the community and provides value to you and your family and your life. And I think that that's a forgotten industry that must be taught in our education system today.
Ron, I'll tell you, let me take that one step further. The other thing about the skilled trades are that once you get that skill, it never leaves you. So you may work 40 years for a company, but you may spend the next 20 years doing it on your own.
That's right.
Okay, if you have that skill, it never leaves you. So if you're a good plumber, okay, and somebody down the way has a problem, they may turn to you. And
that's right.
Yeah, it's a great side job, second job.
It is. It's a great side job, and then I know a lot of people, in addition to that, once they retire, they might want to volunteer their time with different, their church or the Kiwanis Club or whatever, and help people to find solutions to the problems that they're facing in their lives, especially low-income folks. Who can't afford to hire professional services, and they need the help of community services and community organizations who rely on the talent that people in the skilled trades bring to the community. So great point, Carl.
Well, wrapping this up, the U.S. economy still appears very strong despite the pandemic. How do you see this all playing out in the short term and in the long term?
So how do I want to see this playing out?
I don't know whether that was my question or not.
Because ideally, we obviously are working very hard at the Chamber to partner with our municipalities, our partnering organizations like local colleges, Downriver Community Conference, SEMCA, Michigan Works, and others, to find meaningful, common sense solutions to the current situations that we're facing, like the worker shortage crisis. So I think if we work together as a community, we unite as a community and we find these solutions and bring our talents together to find these solutions in partnerships with our elected officials as well. I see very positive days ahead for our region, our state, and our nation as well. It all depends on our ability to come together and unify as a nation and put our differences aside, compromise, work together, and find those sensible solutions to the problems that we're facing today. But I'm an optimistic type person, and I do believe that our nation is heading towards bright days ahead.
Do you see obvious winners and losers here? I know that's a tough question for a guy like you, but let me put you
so
on
the obvious winners right now are the workforce. Our talent, I think, I know I'm a little bit younger, but I don't remember a time where the workforce had so much opportunity.
Got the leverage.
And so the workforce has the leverage. I mean, employers are doing everything they can right now to recruit talent to serve in their business, in their nonprofit, or even municipalities and government organizations. So yeah, the workforce is absolutely winning right now, and this is great. This is it's great to see talent having working together to provide the resources that we need to lift up our communities and enhance our communities. So I think the overall community wins.
Well, that's all that counts for us, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Before we sign up, what's on the agenda ahead into the later fall, winter time with the Chamber?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's always so much going on at the Chamber. I like to tell everyone we typically have about 5 or 6 different events, meetings, things like that throughout every month. But one of particular interest, I think, with our conversation today is that we're partnering with SEMCA Michigan Works, the Downriver Community Conference, and Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency to host an outdoor Downriver job fair on July 22nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at in the parking lot of the Downriver Community Conference on North Line in Southgate. We are expecting 30 employers to be in attendance, all offering great jobs, good paying jobs, probably many of them with benefits and other incentives. And we want to encourage our talent to consider coming out to the job fair and at least explore the different opportunities you have to take part in our workforce and to invest your talent into the Downriver community. So if you're looking for more information on that, you go to the Chamber's website, SWCRC.com/outdoor job fair. And you can also see that right on the homepage of the website, SWCRC.com. And we also have a lot of other great things. Taste of Downriver, which is our region's prestige or premier is the word, Taste Festival coming up on Tuesday, August 10th this year in downtown Trenton. So you can get tickets at the Chamber's website for that as well. But come out and taste some of the great, delicious dishes that we have. We have several Taylor restaurants participating this year, like Bubba's 33,
really?
Texas Roadhouse, and others. So definitely want to encourage everybody to come out to that as well. And our big annual Black Tie Business Expo is on September 9th at Crystal Gardens. So a lot of things happening, especially now that we're able to get together in person and move forward from the pandemic.
And that's a fabulous thing to be able to actually get out,
yes,
not have to wear your mask,
yeah,
and be able to shake somebody's hand occasionally.
Exactly.
Ron, this has been a great discussion. You're always a pleasure to see you, and hopefully we'll do this again in the near future because we'd like to do this on a nice periodic basis.
Yeah, Carl, I would love to come back anytime. It was an honor and a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, fantastic. You're buying next time. This has been another Taylor Newsbreak. For Samantha Rickert and Joe Camilleri in the production room, I'm Carl Zymak. Have a great day.